welcome back to another episode of Your Morning Drive. I am Logan. I am your host this morning. We are live from Fireworks Studio in Marietta, Georgia. If you enjoy our podcast that we do here, do me a favor and send it to one friend or family member or boss or, whoever you want to listen to this show to start their day. That's all I ask. If you want to do more than what I ask and you want to follow along on the socials, you can do so at Your Morning Drive on Instagram and TikTok. Less so on TikTok. I've been kind of falling off on TikTok lately. It's just like firing blanks. But Instagram mainly, that's where you get the show announcements, episode clips, behind the scenes stuff, little fun things here and there when I decide to get on there and be goofy, and many, many more things. Again, I mentioned Fireworks. We're excited to have Fireworks hosting us this morning. They are a creative co-working space in Marietta, Georgia, and they are focused on supporting local community, and they uplift their creative entrepreneurs in the area. If you are working from home full time and you know what, you're sick of having to take your dog out, or if you're sick of having to, do something that is associated with working from home, you can get out of the house and try this place out for free, for a free day pass. If you use code DRIVE whenever you book your time with them, they'll give you a free day pass so you can try the place out. There's nothing for you to lose. It's a great space, great people, great staff, great businesses within the walls here. So I don't think you'll regret it at all. And hey, who knows? Maybe you'll come here on a day that I'm sitting in this very studio and recording. So that'd be pretty fun. So again, code DRIVE, join the network, and be our friend and be a part of Fireworks. Also, shout out to the newest partner and sponsor of the show, Good Days Canned Cocktails. Good Days are a classic cocktail brand created in a convenient, ready-to-drink format to meet the need for a quality, pre-mixed cocktail on any occasion. Summer's here, as we know, in Georgia at least. It's hot as balls, and Good Days are ahead when you have some Good Days in your cooler. Be the first to try out this brand new brand by visiting drinkgooddays.com/pages/find us to find a store near you selling the drink. Of course, you must be 21 years or older to drink legally. And, these drinks have been in my cooler, not even, just because of the advertisement. They said that they wanted me to try them. I tried them. I got my uncles hooked on them, man. My uncles have just been light beer dudes for their entire lives, and they sipping on these Good Days, and they've been converted, and they go and they seek it out and they buy it themselves. They don't even wait for me to give it to them for free. They just love it. So if you're anything and you're sick of drinking the same old thing every summer days, every summer weekend, try something new. Good Days are here. 21 years or older to drink, and go to their website to find out where you can buy. My guest today, finally getting to that, is the co-founder of StageDive, a new streaming platform built for the indie artist. StageDive sets out to be a place artists can be paid fairly and have a better avenue to build a fan base than what exists today, as well as a better experience for those fans. He is also the founder and CEO of Sayge Media and the co-host of the Guys Like Us show. He's also a welder who has worked on some of the biggest jobs in Georgia in the steel industry. Please welcome Nick Smith.
What's going on, man?
What is up, man?
What's up, buddy?
What also, a bio.
I think I forgot to put in there also the guitar player Maledictorian, too.
Yes, you did. I'm sorry. I forgot to add that piece.
Good.
How are you, bro?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me.
I feel like we've been cool. I know we've been talking about doing this for some time, and you just like, there's so many people that are just like, let's schedule it. And I'm like, oh yeah, I know. And then finally one day, I think I was like, oddly enough, I don't know if anyone else can relate to this. If I like get to that perfect level of tipsy, I get really, really hyper focused on like something that's been in the back of my mind for a while. And I'm like, you know what? We're going to go on that right now. So I'm pretty sure the day that I texted you, it might've been a weekend or something. I was like, let's get this thing going, bro. Because I was like, you know what? I'm tired of seeing his name in my phone and we're not doing anything together. So here we are. Let's run it.
Yeah. Well,
I'm taking these off.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for having me, man. This is cool. It's a nice little change of pace to be in an actual studio on my podcast and stuff is always like home studio.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So this is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's definitely a nice change of pace. I was telling Sharon, who's a mutual friend of ours, who hooked this up. So shout out to Sharon. When we recorded my episode on her show in Woodstock.
Yeah, that's right. You met Stone there, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I told her, I was like, man, this is just, it beats being at home. I mean, sure, home is great for the comfort and like the convenience, but like being in a studio, it just kind of feels just that much more cool.
It feels a little more professional for sure. You know, I mean, like the show that I do, like the Guys Like Us show is a show with my dad and a long time friend, Ryan, are the other two hosts. So it's cool. I get to do a show with my dad and a friend of ours. But, when Ryan moved back to town, they back in the day were big fans of like the regular guys and stuff. And they had gone into the studio with them a couple times and everything too. So they kind of had a show that they wanted to do like a radio show back then.
Yeah.
And then when he came back to town, I had started up with Sage and stuff like that. So, they were like, what about doing like a podcast or something, and just kind of kicking that idea around. And they wanted a third host on it. And I was going to be the producer on the show. And then we kind of just did like a test run of it. And I was on the other mic because they didn't know who the third host was going to be yet. But like, I was just kind of on there making sure everything was working good with the roadcaster and all that. And then it was just fun. So we were like, hey, let's just do this. Like,
yeah.
This is a cool dynamic with, me kind of being the next generation down and everything. So
with
that, it's fun because I have a bar at the house. So, with that, it's more of a like just kind of get drunk and hang.
Yeah. Yeah. I did a show for about a year. A couple of my other two co-hosts both had children. So we put it on pause for a while, but it was the same kind of format where we just get a couple drinks and just shoot the shit every week.
Was that the movie one? I know you did a movie.
This one was called Guys on Tap.
Okay.
Yeah, I've done too many, honestly. Too many. But sometimes it just takes you time to figure out what you are supposed to do, So it's been a journey in and of itself. That's a podcast episode where I just need to sit and talk and tell the story, honestly.
Just go through, everything.
Just go through the oral history of Logan's podcast journey. Maybe I'll do that. I'm going to write that down. So I mentioned Sharon hooked this up. We texted back and forth for like a month or so, and here we are. I'm super excited. So who are you, man? Who's Nick Smith? How did you get into doing stuff, what you're doing,
man? That's a weird
It's a tough question because I think I just summarized who Nick Smith is at the beginning there. But like, man, tell me just about you.
Wow. Okay. I feel like every episode of yours that I've listened to, I've heard you ask the guest that, and everyone's like, I don't know how to answer that.
Yep. 100%. 100%.
Yeah. Look, man. From the time I was a kid, I wanted to be a guitar player, and kids, I think, have those dreams of like, you want to be like a star, like athlete or like a rock star or something like that. And that one was mine for sure. I wanted to be a rock star. I had like my idols that I looked at and wanted to be, like Eddie Van Halen or like Metallica or like whoever, and so picked up a guitar and, in and out of bands and stuff like that. And actually, guest that you had on, Zach Goodfellow, was an old bandmate of mine.
That is so funny, man.
Dude, I know. I've known Zach probably since like, I think 6th grade we met.
That's like, insane, man.
We were on our first like real band together in high school and stuff.
That's so badass.
Yeah. But so doing that stuff was always really fun. And then, as I think some people, the more they get into like not just playing and writing and stuff, but I got really like nerd into gear and into like wanting to, and like I'm not an audio engineer, but like trying to learn more of that side of stuff.
Sure.
And the guys in my band, I have 2 guys that are audio engineers that are so good at what they do, and trying to learn more from them. And I'm also a welder, which I think you said in there.
Yeah.
So as I'm at work welding and sweating my ass off, I listen to podcasts all throughout the day. And it just eventually, it was easier for me to listen to an episode of like Joe Rogan or something, which was 3 hours, because I knew at the end of that I could tune out and I just know, okay, 3 hours has gone by. That's way better than at the end of a 5-minute song. I know only 5 minutes has gone by.
Wow, that's a really good point.
So I tried to just latch on to podcasts and stuff just so I could just get through the day a little bit easier when we were working overtime and stuff.
Sure.
And eventually, my wife was kind of doing the same thing, and we were like, hey, what if we start a podcast? And so we just kind of jumped into it. And like I said, my buddies are audio engineers, so they helped us get set up with some gear and stuff. And we just kind of got into it, and it was really based more on like kind of like Two Bears and like those kind of shows, or it
Absolutely.
was us just kind of being idiots,
Yeah.
and just hanging out and talking and stuff. And after doing that for a minute, just really seeing and knowing how much goes into like buying gear and writing and trying to record music, and then now doing the podcast and everything, I saw how expensive and also like time consuming it was to do what I mean, you have this show, so how time consuming it can be to like do all of these shows, to edit it, to produce it, to even if you do minimal editing, like there's still just a lot of back end work that you
Absolutely
have to do. So I think I just saw like really how much work went into that, and also how many people that I've known, just that I've known alone, that are like, they would be so good at this. And they would never start because of all the work that goes into it. Like once they hear how much work goes in, they're just like, I don't care. I'm just gonna bail out on that. Or they're fantastic musicians or whatever, but they want to record stuff, but they're just not great on like that end of it. You know what I mean? Like, I've always been lucky to have the ability for us to kind of get to do stuff ourselves.
Sure.
We haven't had to go pay like expensive studio time for stuff like that.
Sure.
So I think just kind of seeing that whole of like, man, there's a lot of people that are probably very creative and really, really good that just don't have an avenue to like get anything out into the world. So that's kind of where Sayge Media started. Was I just wanted to put together a company that that was our tagline, was we don't own you. Like I wanted something where it was like, look, I just want to be able to help you build whatever crazy thing you want to do. Like whatever that is, so we got into wanting to try to produce like, music and podcasts and live events and stuff like that. And
I love that, man.
in really small time, just got into
because you love doing it.
Yeah, and just that idea, and
Sure.
more than anything, it was really just our podcast on the network, like the ones that we were doing ourselves,
Absolutely.
And we flew out to New York, and while we were out there, we talked to a show that was out there. We got to go on and guest, which feels cool, going to another state and like guesting on a show and stuff. And we actually ended up talking to some musicians out there, and we set up a bunch of work, and we're all excited. And quite honestly, like luckily things fell through because I think we unknowingly, like not trying to be like predatory or anything like that, just unknowingly, I think overcommitted to what we would have been able to actually do at the time. And because I mean, we had people flying out here that we were going to do some music videos and stuff for.
That's amazing.
It was really cool, but we just I'm glad it fell through, because I don't think we would have been able to deliver the way we needed to. But ironically, so we go out there, we're talking to everybody, we're super excited, right? Like we're like, wow, we're actually doing it. Like maybe this can be like, even though I do love welding, I love the steel industry, all that stuff, like I don't want to do that forever,
Sure.
And so maybe this can be like the coolest job ever to get to do this. And we get back, and as we're trying to set up times for all this stuff, 2 weeks later is stay-at-home orders, because we went out there right before COVID kicked off.
Damn.
So we got back, and then just all that's just dead in the water.
Yeah.
Like everything's gone. And then it's just kind of, it's not like on the back burner, but it's just a very slow burn, and I went on Rock and Roll Autopsy, which is a really cool show. And when I was on there, I was talking about the fact that like we could have tried to maybe get an investor or something, but like I didn't want anyone to tell me what I have to do with it.
Right.
The whole point was I want to be able to fund people doing something that they want to do. So I don't want to have a boss, because I don't want them to have a boss.
Right. Exactly. It would be counterintuitive to go and do the thing that you're setting a business up to do for someone else.
Yeah, exactly. And so oddly enough, so this is funny, Zach actually ties into this story with StageDive.
Amazing.
Completely by accident. I don't know that he even knows that. So he actually said the line again, kind of here on your show, where there's enough food for everyone to eat.
Yes.
He said that on your show.
Absolutely.
So
I remember
there was my wife and I were doing a pod, and then we had our daughter. And so she was on maternity leave from work, and it just, everything was just piled up. The easiest thing at the time was for her to also just kind of take a break from the podcast, but we didn't want to stop doing it for like that long,
Sure.
And so there was a couple weeks where I brought in guest hosts and they just kind of jumped in with me, and it, that was cool to have people over to the bar, and we'll do a different kind of show.
Absolutely.
And I tried to just have like a rotating kind of list of our friends and stuff. And so Zach was one of them. He came and did an episode with me, and we talked about that at the end of that idea that there's enough room at the table for everyone to eat. And later, when StageDive kind of came around, that popped into my head, and I was like, this is how everyone gets to pull a chair up to the table. Like, this is how everybody, like, yeah, there's enough food, but like people got to get to that table, and so like that's immediately that clicked in my head, and I was like, this is it. Like, this is how we can do this.
I love that analogy too. So you taken what Zach said, and there's enough food at the table, but not everybody has a chair to sit at it.
Yeah.
That's
like, how
so
do you
deep.
get here? Like, how do you get here to actually, like, yeah, there's enough
God,
food,
I want
but
that
how do you
shit
get here to
tattooed
eat?
on me, man. That shit's, I want to write that down, man. That's powerful.
Thanks, man. But it's so funny. Like, it's such a weird. So also, especially because he was here talking about video games and stuff.
Yeah.
So my dad's an even bigger gamer than I am, probably, and he and I used to play Call of Duty online together all
Hell
the time.
yeah.
And my whole family would get online and play.
Hell
but
yeah,
like,
dude. You and my family both, man.
But he
Hell
had
yeah.
guys that he would play online with like all the time. Like, he had like a regular crew of guys that he played with. Shout out White Shadow, because he's the guy that actually is the reason I'm part of StageDive. So
Okay.
my dad was in a band, Martyrs of Society. He was the bass player, and so he's online with White Shadow, and he goes, "Hey man, you're in a band? My brother is starting something kind of cool. You should talk to him about it. I think it'd be a cool place for your music to go."
Yeah.
And so he sends my dad John Bruce's number.
Okay.
And so my dad reaches out, and they talk, and he kind of tells him like, "Hey, who you need to talk to about this is my son. He would be really into this, and he's much more like in this world, And he has a media company that he's, and so the podcast my wife and I were doing, we tried to end every episode with a guest submission for just a band. We just, hey, like, let us just get your music out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I did have this list, like this email list of like 100 bands that I had talked to with this, and he was like, like, he's got a bunch of bands that he knows and stuff. Like, he would probably be really helpful for this, because it's a streaming platform that John's wanting to start,
Yeah.
And so he calls me, and we start talking about what this is going to be, and immediately, like I said, like that pops into my head, and I'm like, damn, I want to be a part of this somehow. I don't know how much it would cost to invest, but like, I wish I just had money to invest so I could just like be a part
like,
of it.
can I give you guys $10 and that just counts as my
dude,
in?
I'm just like, I'm so excited. And like, I love everything he's telling me, and I'm so into this idea. And I kind of just made a choice, that was like, well, what, I could try to maybe be a little greedy and try to like pivot this into something else, but what, I'm just giving them whatever ideas I have, because like ideas just start flowing and stuff, And so over the next couple of weeks, he and I start talking, and I'm just, just dropping stuff. And I'm like, look, I'll send you all the bands that I know. I'll do, and eventually he's like, listen, man, like, your brain is perfect for this. Like, I think you'd be a perfect addition to the team. Like, just come help me build this. I want you on this to help me build this.
Hell yes.
And so, I got to be a co-founder of the company, because that was like back when it was still kind of an idea, so getting to be along through this whole ride has been incredible, man. So StageDive, like the whole point, and like what he was telling me and what I fell in love with is, and this goes back to the music thing, right? Like, when I saw there's so many people that are like really good musicians, but maybe not the best at marketing themselves.
Sure.
Or maybe, like,
marketing's hard.
It's really hard, man.
It's tough.
And I thought there's just so many bands that are so good that never make it.
Yeah.
They never make it. And you always know there's always some guy that that's like, he was the best ever. He's better than all these other people. No one knows who he is, know? And I just started thinking of those people. And indie artists, people that are not signed to a label and everything. And streaming has changed everything. And I equate it a little bit to something like social media.
Sure.
Where social media is really great because it's how I'm here. It's how we, connected.
Yeah.
And how we have mutual friends like Zach and Sharon. And,
yeah.
And, so like my high school reunion's coming up, and I have plans that day. And I kind of thought like, well, who even cares? Like anyone that I want to see from that, like I can easily connect with them on Facebook or whatever else,
Yeah.
That's not the way it was,
No.
20 years ago. So it's,
dude, when our parents got invites to high school reunion, it's like a big deal.
right. Yeah.
Like they're like, holy shit, we haven't seen these people for 20 years.
Right. And so, but you also look at social media and you go like, this is also a cesspool.
Yeah. Oh yeah. God.
Realistically, this is like the worst thing that happens to us.
It's the worst thing ever.
But also like there's so much awesome stuff that comes out of it, but it's also terrible, and that's kind of what I equate streaming to with what it is right now.
Sure.
Is
it's like a necessary evil.
Yeah. And it because of the same thing like social media, back then you had to hope that a record label would see you at a show and would want to sign you. And then, now you can put your stuff up and you can go viral and like you can have a TikTok video blow up and,
and overnight,
that's
it. Yeah.
The flip side of that is you're also competing with the entire planet now instead of just the people that are also in your local market.
Correct.
So that stuff. But man, the way streaming changed everything is, you have a lot more of an opportunity. But I think when that opportunity was seen, like when it was like, oh, this is the direction things are going, the same thing happened that always happens with especially the music industry, but every industry, like the people that were taking advantage found new ways to take advantage. And man, there is just the majority of people don't make money on like in streaming. They have to make money touring and selling merch. And even that, the venues that you play at want to take a cut of your merch.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't get all the money from ticket sales. If you have a record label or something, or if you have a manager, you have to pay those people.
Mm-hmm.
But it used to be like you would make a lot of money in selling the actual music.
Right.
You don't make that money there anymore. And it shouldn't be that way.
Yeah.
And so StageDive, we share 50% of subscription revenue with all of our artists. So the way it works is it's broken out by time instead of streams. So if your podcast is on there, right?
Okay.
So somebody listens to Your Morning Drive and however much they listen to stuff that month, they've listened to a bunch of your episodes because they find you and they basically spent 50% of their time listening to your podcast. You're going to get 50% of their revenue. Or 50% of the revenue that goes to the artist.
Sure. I mean? Yeah.
Because they chose to spend that time with you. We don't have ad sales we have to pay out. We don't have any ads that we run on there. So there's no disruptive ads. So there's no one we have to pay other than you. So there's no middleman. Why would we pay somebody else? We're making our money still. It's only $3.99. Like that's available to everybody. Like that's cheap. And like, why should that person not get paid for the content that they put out?
I love that, dude. That's incredible. So just so I make sure I understand right. So if I use your example, if I wanted to upload, an album to this platform, I pay you $3.99 a month.
No. So the listener does. The artists don't pay us anything to be on it.
Okay. Yeah. So the listener is paying $3.99 to subscribe.
Yes.
And so
that $3.99, $1.99 comes to StageDive.
Okay.
$2 goes to the pool that will go to the artists.
The artists. You know what I
mean? Yeah. And whoever they listen to. So it breaks it down into like a pie chart and it's by the second. You know what I mean? So if you spend,
clever, man.
20% of your time with this band and, 15% of your time with this podcast, where that's how it goes. 20% goes to that band, 15 goes to that podcast, And
that's freaking cool.
It just gets broken out like that. And it really is because I've mentioned them on these podcasts when I do it. But I do want to be, it's really all of them, but Spotify is kind of the king right now with streaming.
Sure.
So the easiest thing is to compare to Spotify, but it's not like Spotify is like, like they're the evil empire and it's only them, it's all of streaming, but they're the easiest one to point to.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And, Spotify for a stream, you get 0.0043 cents. Like you get less than a quarter of a penny for a stream. So, how are you gonna make money like that? And
that's just crazy to think about, like those artists like Bad Bunny or Drake or all these guys or Taylor Swift that get all of these streams.
Think how much money.
Think of how much money that's insane.
But also think about how much money. So one of the things I was doing on some of these other shows, and I did it on Sharon's. So anyone that wants to hear my Fearless Formula episode, go listen to Sharon Klein's show. But I would take an album a lot of times from whoever the host is and go like, hey, give me an album that you like. And I would do the difference in, you know, what that was back then versus what it would be now. And so when I was on Rock Roll Autopsy, I did Appetite for Destruction, and on Fearless Formula, I did Hotel California.
Sure.
Both those albums were around the same, you know? So I think Appetite was like, it was like 30 times platinum. So that's like 300 million copies or something like that. That's something crazy, right? Or no, it was like, if you look at it, where it's probably about $10 for, you know, a sale of whatever at the time, because it's cassettes and CDs mostly during their time, you know?
Yeah.
And that's like a $300 million album, which is ridiculous.
Insane
like,
to think
that's
about.
Crazy. Now, their music is played more than ever. They do a platinum album worth of streams every single day on just one song, like one or two songs alone. Like Just Sweet Child of Mine does almost, you know, 1 million a day. And a platinum, that $300 million album, that 30 times platinum thing, you do all the math on that and run it through Spotify's numbers, that album's worth $140,000 now with streaming. Like, that's not right, man.
That's insane.
You know, like, look, those companies got to make something for sure. No business is in the business of losing money. So like, you have to make money. But I mean, it's crazy that that's all the artist is going to get from that, because that's a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame level band.
Yeah.
What happens if you're just a local band, or if you're an indie band that's really, really grinding and trying to make it, and you're busting your ass, and that's what you have? Yeah, like,
thus StageDive was born.
Yeah. And because it's really, really hard to try to do it otherwise. You know, we went to NAMM at the beginning of the year, which was a dream come true. But because ever since I was a little kid playing guitar, I always wanted to go to NAMM.
Yeah.
And we're out there, and it was crazy to get to meet some of these rock stars that I've looked up to forever, you know,
I'd say.
and talking to them about this. And before I even got into what StageDive was, just saying like, yeah, look, there's no money in streaming. Every one of them would just cut me off and be like, oh, dude, we make no money. We make no money with that. I don't know how anyone can make money like that. And the fact that you have, again, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame level artists that are there just to their fans going like, yeah, dude, we don't make any money like that. Like, all our money comes from somewhere else. Like, that can't just last forever.
No.
You know?
It's not sustainable.
Well, but for the companies, it is.
Sure.
You know,
for
like
Spotify, they're okay.
Spotify, it is.
Yeah.
You know, and again, like, their biggest artists, you know, the Taylor Swifts and people like that, like, they're not hurting from it, you know, like, they're ridiculously rich. But even still, with like, even someone like her, like, yeah, she's making crazy money on touring and stuff like that.
Sure.
But all of her streaming numbers, like, she could be making even more money, which is unbelievable. But like, she could still be making even more than she is right now. Like,
right. If everybody and their dog that's subscribed to Spotify was subscribed to StageDive, listening to Taylor Swift, she could have millions of more dollars.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's possible. You know, like, there's no guarantee, but it's possible. You know, and I think it also depends on, you know, some of those giant bands, I'm sure have, or like giant artists or whatever. You know, if you're Taylor Swift or, you know, Zach Bryan or Metallica, or, you know, like, when you're the biggest of your genre, I'm sure there's probably other deals in place. You know, like, they also have like ad agency deals and stuff like that. They put her face on an ad for a reason. You know what I mean? So I'm sure there's other things there. You know, but, you know, look, man, I did. There's a band that's coming onto our platform, so I did just a quick kind of experiment with them. You know, I looked at what their numbers were on Spotify and stuff. So they had like 4,000 monthly listeners, right? So I took that and I was like, all right, well, let's take 10 people and figure out like basic listening habits of like 10 different people, like wildly different people, you know, try to get like just across the map of what their fans would look like, you know? And so like, from a diehard fan to someone who might listen to them like once or twice in a month. And then took that and expanded it to 4,000 so that you can get just a general idea as to like probably the amount of streams they're getting. And that's all a rough estimate, you know, kind of just playing around with it.
Yeah.
And it came out to being about 20,000 streams a month. That's $86. So I did the same thing, like the exact same numbers, and just put it into hours and did the math with hours. And it comes out being about 25% of time a piece. That's $1,000 for that artist.
Wow.
And like,
as opposed to 86.
As opposed to $86. Like, that's a huge difference.
That's
for them,
insane.
You know? And again, like, if that band is on the road self-funding a tour where they're all piling into, you know, a van and driving themselves across the country.
Yeah.
Playing all over the place. That's a massive difference for them, dude.
Yeah.
Like that's, you know, like
that $86 is gonna they're splitting a tank of gas with their meal for the night.
Yeah. You know, but like $1,000 for that, that's a massive difference for a band that is doing everything themselves, you know, and that's why I'm saying that's why it's built for the indie artists, you know, as we're doing it for all of those people that going back to like the, you know, what I saw with Sage is like, there's how many of those bands might quit after a year because they're like, hey, look, we physically cannot continue to do this.
Yeah.
But like we can pay them more. And maybe that's the difference in them making it, you know, for real and getting onto a big tour, getting onto a festival, you know, getting their name out there enough and building up their fan base. And, you know, we were kind of thinking about it almost like that, you know, where it's like, well, look, how much further does this get you when you're out on the road? How many more tanks of gas is this, you know? And almost looking at it as, you know, look, the streaming industry just isn't built for people to get rich off this anymore. And we got to talk to someone who's really an industry guy who is very disgruntled with the industry because of this and kind of making his way out and doing his own thing. And, you know, he really helped us understand that that's actually not the case. So that's why I do have some notes and stuff. So way more than even we realized, music accounts for $170 billion in the United States alone. 19 billion of that is streaming.
Wow.
Just streaming
Jesus.
is 19 billion. So that's not including the ad sales that comes off of streaming. That is just subscriptions and streaming. That's it. So again, when Spotify is 0.4 or 0.00437 or 73 or whatever, like where's the rest of that money going? You know, like it all goes to a couple labels, you know, a couple of labels made some deals with the 3 big labels made deals with the streaming companies. And what's really dirty about it, man, is it's 90% of the money goes to this little pool.
Sure.
The 10% that's left that all of us are fighting over is where all of those companies are pulling their money from because they have to take their money from somewhere. So we're fighting for 10% along with them having to pay all their employees and also turning a profit and all that other stuff. And that's why you see these things get added in where now on Spotify, you have to have 1,000 streams before you're even eligible to be paid anymore. That alone cuts out 2/3 of all eligible music will ever be paid. Like 2/3 of music as a whole on Spotify just won't be paid out because of that new rule. You know, like that's.
Wow, man. I'm like flabbergasted at the numbers of it.
Yeah.
Like, I can't stop thinking about the numbers.
Dude, YouTube, 25% of all streaming is like on YouTube is just music. It's like, I think how many videos and stuff are on there, how many things you watch, how many shows and
25% is music.
25% is just music. You know, like that's how much is just streamed just on YouTube, you know? And look, man, you have to have 4,000 hours of view time and 1,000 subscribers before you can get paid on YouTube.
Yeah.
So like, again, how many people aren't making money?
How many people just quit?
How many people just quit? But how many people, even if they upload stuff, they're just not making money from it? It turns into, you know, like we're talking about like the like comedy podcasts and stuff.
Yeah.
Somebody like Shane Gillis, man, like he blew up, but part of that was not just the cancellation and all that, but also, you know, him continuing to move on from that. And he put his Live from Austin special up on YouTube.
Yeah.
How much could he have made off that Live from Austin special? I mean, that thing went absolutely crazy and it really helped launch his career. And then, you know, he's on Rogan and everything, you know, and then everyone knows like he just skyrockets, you know, but how much money could he have made that he didn't get to profit on? That think about the fact that like he was a road comic that he wasn't rich, you know what I mean? Like they were doing a podcast making no money with Matt and Shane.
Yeah.
And then SNL gets canceled the next day. Like that dude easily could have been a perfect example of someone who quits and just goes away.
Yeah.
And like that YouTube special, it helped him out with eyes, but I'm sure he could have used the money from that.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, if you're not making money unless you have, you know, X amount of views and X amount of subscribers, I mean, he could have made a lot of money.
Even more, you know? And what's crazy is in talking to that guy, the biggest number that was insane to me is within a decade, the projection is that within a decade, it'll be 100 billion annually that is brought in from music in the US.
Jesus Christ.
Like when that type of money is available, it's insane to me that people aren't able to make a living on
Right.
what they're doing. And also, it's your work, like it's your art and content and everything. Like you're busting your ass to make it, and you're getting nothing from it.
Yeah.
Like that's theft. That's
It's a
people
damn bummer.
stealing your stuff, you know. And it's especially crazy when I then think of what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Right. Which, look, this is a great show. Like I enjoy listening to your podcast, but like you don't have a Joe Rogan deal. You know what I mean? Like this is not like
Spotify's not paying me $18 million
or
$100 million, whatever it was.
Yeah, I think dude, he's had like 2 of them now. I think it's like up to like 400 million or something crazy. But like again, you don't have that deal. You know, like you're not Rogan. You don't have those numbers, which there's nothing wrong with.
No.
But that also means think of how many legendary bands, like people that have been around for so long, how many podcasters that like do well. We're in the same bracket as them. Like that doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. So like let's just say, man, you would think that everyone would be behind this because A, the subscription a month is cheap.
Yeah.
B, they on the back end, their favorite artists, their favorite indie artists are getting paid more.
Yeah, they're actually making money. Well, and like I said, man, we do want to make it better for the fan base too. So we want it to be a one-stop shop where eventually it is like, look, we're still building this platform, so like it is out, it is streaming, people are getting paid, but like we're still constantly updating it and adding things. And we want it to be somewhere that when you find your band that you love, you don't have to remember who they are and go find them wherever else. Like you'll be able to see their tour dates, get their merch. You'll be able to interact with them, and like you'll be able to interact with a community of people also, because that's big, man.
Yeah,
think of live shows aren't the same as they used to be. Like there's not the same draw to live shows for local shows. Like for big events, but not local shows. And when that disappears, that community also disappears. We want to rebuild that too, of those people that there is something special about being in a small club and having people that you've never met, that you're all there for the same band. And it doesn't matter that you don't know each other. For tonight, we're all friends, and like being able to capture that within something like streaming is, I think, going to be a huge part of the future of what this is, the future of what this industry is.
Damn. I'm hooked. Like, damn, dude, like, sheesh. I can't stop thinking about the numbers, but I also can't stop thinking. I mean, it's a win. So when an artist wants to sign up for this, of course, the platform is meant for indie artists and those smaller.
It's meant for everybody. It's just the indie artist is probably who it like caters to the most, because those are the people that need it the most. But it's not like we're going to turn somebody away because they're successful. Like it's for everyone.
Right. So if in theory, Red Hot Chili Peppers were like, we love what you're doing. Sure, we love to be on your platform.
So yes, but I do want to clarify.
Sure.
Yes. However, this has been a topic of discussion a lot just with us, so that we even know, like, hey, what do we do if that happens?
Yeah.
We have decided to stick to, though, like, there is no special treatment for a band that is bigger. Like, because realistically, it would be really easy for the Chili Peppers to come in and it's like, all right, well, now it's their StageDive. Like, now it's not StageDive, it's theirs,
Yeah, sure.
And that is off the table for us. Like, we want it to be something where we don't want to get away from the whole reason we started, which is also, man, the algorithm buries people that are not successful. Like, it's very hard to break through that. We want to make sure that, like, if you're on our platform, you do have a equal opportunity to get your music out to fans. Now, it's still on you to grind and, like, promote yourself and do everything else like you would normally have to. But if you do all that, you have a way better opportunity to get to people than you would on, Apple Music or YouTube or Spotify or anything else. Like we want it to be a better, like, avenue for those artists, not just monetarily, but also where you can, like, build up a fan base.
Wow.
Have people that want to actually come see you and support you.
So it's not necessarily also just it's not just a music player. It's a
No, it's podcasts.
it's a
and everything
community
too, and yeah.
of okay. I love it, man. It's incredible. So where are you guys now? Like how's business?
I mean, it's going good, man. We launched this year, so it's new, but I mean, we have new artists jumping on every day, and like we just want people to come be a part of it, man. Like, just we want artists to jump on, and of course, like, we need listeners for those artists so they can get paid. But it was really, I think, there is something could be a good idea to you or a small group or whatever, right? And you can really believe in an idea. And you see this all the time, like something like Shark Tank, like you can really believe in an idea and then you go and you pitch it and it's like, well, you realize it's not really that great of an idea at scale, or
yeah, and they just shit on it.
Yeah. You go pitch to the Sharks and they're like, no, fuck you.
Yeah.
It just, what was really cool for me is, like I said, getting to do this kind of from the beginning onward and really getting to be a part of this small team that's like built this, completely, is our first month that we did payouts, we had like no subscribers almost, like there were so few people that like nobody even knew about us, like we're still, and that's really the uphill battle we're in right now, is just getting people aware of what this is. But that first month, when still we had like no one on there yet, and it was such minimal payouts, that month we had multiple artists start posting, come to StageDive. We just made more money this month than we've ever made on all these other platforms.
That's incredible, man. That's powerful.
And that's, again, we're looking at it as like, hey, that's proof of concept, because we looked at that almost like, hey, look, it's not much, but you made something. And it's also crazy that like, hey, this band is really good. They made $12. Like, yeah, $12 is nothing, but like, hey, it's $12. You made something, and then they're posting like, we just made more money in a month than we've ever made on the other ones. And it's like, $12 is more than you've ever made.
Right. $12 is at 12 cents.
Yeah. It's like, that's more than you've ever made collectively on those other ones. Like, that's a way bigger problem than,
that's, it's asinine that you got me speechless, bro. Like this, it's such a, so how are you marketing it? I mean, are you gonna ever work with some of these artists that are on there and you're just like, hey, can you push it to your fans on your socials?
We try to work with all of the artists, and like, that's a big thing, man, is the artist. That is the biggest thing, is if they can get their fan base on. Like, no one really knows who we are yet, but they do know who those artists are. They know who their favorite band is, like being able to appeal to those guys and really just get people to understand like why they are here. And I think having the artists do a lot of that talking has been very helpful, especially recently. But, for me and John, it's been doing a lot of stuff like this, like trying to come on podcasts or radio shows or whatever, and just really explain what it is that we're doing and why. Because I think, especially musicians and podcasters, creative types are inherently skeptical. I know I am,
Yeah.
And I think for good reason. I mean, look at what we're talking about right now. Like, there's a reason people are skeptical.
It's a bowl in a china shop.
Yeah,
it's literally taking everything that, I mean, it's keeping everything to its core. Like, fans are going to enjoy music. Artists are going to be able to interact with their fans.
Right.
But it's a fair payout.
Yeah, it's a fair payout. And like I said, it's a fair payout. And we want to give the fan base something that is a better experience than just you hit play and you hear a song. And so trying to take things like a place like Bandcamp, right, where you have all those extra things, like a Patreon, where you have all these extra things that you pay for, taking all those features, taking all those things and putting it into StageDive, which hopefully has the convenience of something like a YouTube or a Spotify, and the availability of those things for $3.99 instead of $12.99. And it's doable.
Sounds like a win, freaking win. Like,
yeah.
Again, like as my point earlier of like, it's a cheaper subscription, and the people that you are fans of and the people that you support are getting their fair end of the deal as well.
Yeah.
It's literally common sense.
Yeah. It's
what the hell? What are we doing? So I'm going to just assume that your biggest, like, if you're trying to pitch me on this idea,
right? Yeah.
Your biggest critic, I guess, is going to say, why would I pay for another music service to listen to my favorite indie artist when I can just listen to them on Spotify? What do you say to those people?
Well, hold on. So probably our biggest critic, even before that person, is the one that's going like, well, yeah, but my favorite band isn't on there because it's
True.
like the
Yeah.
biggest radio bands and stuff are not on there.
Sure. Yeah.
And look, that's true. You know, like, and look, I still want to hear all my favorite bands. So I still listen to YouTube and Spotify and
Sure,
everything else
yeah.
too. Like, it's not like I'm saying like completely get rid of everything,
Yeah.
you know? So we're not telling anyone to not listen to the other places. We're not only this platform. We're just a better platform. And so come here and listen to your favorite, you know, smaller artists or whatever here, because it's worth it for them. Like, they will make more money. It makes sense for your favorite band. Like, what is $3.99? A cup of coffee for you? Like, it makes everything to that band.
I can't wait.
Here's the other part of it too. It's easy right now to say, yeah, but you know, my favorite band isn't on there that you hear on the radio or wherever else. Think of the disparity in money we're talking about and the autonomy of your like creative control that comes along with that. Right. So you think of what I said before, like Appetite for Destruction, which is $300 million versus $140,000. Now they're making that like daily now.
Sure.
Know? So I'd love to be that poor.
Yeah.
But still, think of the difference in that and and everything that comes along with that too. How long does it take before these artists start to see that there are other options? If there start being other options, how long before they jump ship from something like a Spotify or Apple Music or YouTube or anything else? Well, now your biggest argument for why you want to hear them there doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And the reason is because they're not paying your favorite artists. We're paying your favorite artists. So come here and listen to them here because they'll stay here because we'll support them.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest reason, really, is like we're small time now. So we have, you know, smaller bands of stuff that are on.
Sure.
And we do have some like bigger people that have jumped on. But, you know, yeah, we don't have like the people we've talked about. You know, we don't have Taylor Swift.
We don't have Drake. Yeah.
Zach Bryan, Drake. Like, we don't have the biggest in their genres. But you never know what'll happen. And you never know how long before any of those people might go, hey, you know what? I'm pretty sick of you not paying me what I deserve.
Yeah. And I think that at some point there's going to be I don't want to say a revolution because that sounds dramatic, but I mean, I think that day will come.
I think so too.
And I think it's slowly starting to happen.
Yeah.
With some artists deciding to leave the big platforms because they're like, nothing's happening here.
We've had a couple people go exclusive. And now that we're kind of in this and we're having more talks with like record labels and stuff,
sure.
and like indie labels, you know,
sure.
like smaller, like, which not small, but smaller, like not like, you know, Sony and people like that, you know?
Yeah.
Because they're never going to give us their time. But these indie labels, they're part of the industry, you know? So like, as we're having these conversations with them, yeah, what you're saying is true, is like, there's a lot of rumbling about this right now. There's a lot of talk of like, yeah, you know, my artists are pretty ready to jump ship, some of them, you know, and that's not across the board. That's, you know, kind of few and far between.
Sure,
but
sure.
You know, I would love to see that be more artists, you know, because like, here's the thing. It's not even that I think everyone should bail on these other companies. I think they should do whatever is right for them, you know, and maybe that means bailing on them. Maybe it means staying there so they have more eyes or whatever. The beauty is we're not telling anyone what to do. Again, it goes back. We don't own you, you know, like do what you need to do for the band, but we're going to give you a better chance than anyone else.
Badass, man. It's incredible, dude.
Thank you.
You guys have a hell of a product.
Thank you so much.
I feel like I'm sending that. I can't wait to post this shit. Like, I feel like this is like this is like cutting edge shit, right? Like, I feel like I'm sitting across from like Steve Jobs right now. Like, you're just blowing. I mean, again, it sounds repetitive because I've said it like 5 times already, but like, you get to listen to your favorite lesser known artists and they get compensated fairly. I mean, it's such a simple concept.
Yeah, well, and like I said, man, some of these guys, maybe I didn't know them, but it's not like they're unknown. Like,
Sure,
there's a decent amount of bands
they've
on
got
here that,
niche fan bases that are passionate.
yeah.
And
Well,
like you said, unless they're Taylor Swift or Drake, they're not making more than $86 a month on Spotify or $12 a
exactly.
month on
And
Spotify.
I've brought these kids up before because they're awesome, dude. They're the shit. But I don't know if you've ever heard of Silly Goose.
Yeah.
Okay, so we know those guys. We actually,
yeah.
my wife and I's podcast, Rant and the Raven, that we used to do, we were their first interview, actually. And we saw them. We went to a concert. We came out, and they were doing their street show. They were playing out in the street. And we saw them. We loved them, and just got in touch with the guys. And so we've kind of, like, we're not like tight with them, you know what I mean? But we've known them,
Yeah,
and talked to them,
yeah.
and like had a relationship with them to
Sure,
some extent for a
sure.
couple years now. And we got to watch them make it. Like, we got to watch them. We got to be at the show, at the Masquerade, when he said, "How many of you guys saw me in the street?" And the place went absolutely crazy. Like, it was a sold out show. And then he got to give his fuck you moment to all the people in the back that didn't want to book them.
Yeah.
And got to say, like, like, he got to give his moment of like, yeah, none of y'all wanted to give us a chance. And here we are, and they had sold out the Masquerade. And it was a really cool moment that it was like, oh yeah, they sold out this room, but they're about to sell out way bigger rooms.
Yeah.
And to see them get to have that was awesome. Because by then it's like, I'm rooting for those kids, like, we got to know them, and like, what they're doing is so cool that, like, I'm always going to root for them, and I think of them as the perfect example of something like this. So smart that, like, they just had all their stuff on a trailer ready to go, and then eventually they got a van and everything, but just they would go play shows in the street. Like, they're willing to get out there and grind and bust their ass to, like, just build up a fan base. This will pay them. This will help them build up that fan base, and like, they're such a perfect example of a band that this is made for. And yeah, now they're on big time tours and they're on big festivals, and we got to see them last year at Louder Than Life, which was incredible because, we're there and we're seeing, like Foo Fighters.
Yeah.
And, like, these massive, massive bands.
Yeah.
And at the same time, here's this band that we know that we saw when there was like, 20 people in the street.
Right.
And now they're playing on that stage, and like, how incredible to see them like that. But, they can carve out like a living for themselves, not just being in the van, not just touring, but also through streaming, which right now that's not paying them,
No.
like, all their money is coming from them, like, knowing how to market themselves. But knowing how to market themselves should be paying them more on, like, their actual music.
Damn. Yeah, dude, this is good shit. I can't wait to just dive into it later. I'm just gonna get lost in just the research and just exploring y'all's platform and shit. I can't wait to look at it. So all of this, you do all of this outside your full-time job.
Yeah. Yes, all of this outside my full-time job and outside of also I have a kid, a husband and a father, so trying to.
How do you balance?
Just honestly, my wife is awesome and really, really helps out with, also kind of giving some grace where it's needed at times.
Sure.
But, just it's tough, like, I really do try to carve out like my schedule to make the most sense, where there's a lot of late nights sometimes where I'm doing stuff knowing like, oh, I got to get up early in the morning, but I got to edit our show, or I got to, me and John are up talking, like, designing more stuff for this to give to the dev guys. And I know they're working late nights. So it's like, yeah, this is my part to do too, and, but I'm doing it late because she's already asleep. You know what I mean? And so I don't want to miss that time with my kid while she's awake. I already don't have that much time because I'm at work all day. So, right now it's just spinning a lot of plates, but it's all worth it.
Oh yeah. So do you find yourself, you work these long ass days, sweating your ass off, like you said, and then you're getting home, you're prioritizing family time, and then you're doing I forget who made the joke. It might've been Sharon that called it your 5 to 9 is stage jive is stage jive.
Yeah, I mean, yes, it is. But luckily, it's not like I have to do crazy overtime at work the way I used to at some of the other companies and stuff that I've worked at. and Friday we get out early. So I have like a half day Friday where I get to like try to pile a bunch of this on. So try to just like, organize your schedule the right way. And then look, I still try to give myself as much downtime as I can because I do want to spend the time with my wife and also us go see our friends and see our family and get to spend time with everybody. So that part is really important to me, is not sacrificing. I don't ever want, as my kid grows up, for her to be like, yeah, dad wasn't around, or he couldn't come to this thing, or couldn't come to this because he was working, or for my wife to be like, yeah, like we had like this takes off, and like, yes, we're rich, we have a bunch of money or whatever, but
you
a
have
huge part of our marriage wasn't spent together like that. It's very important to us that we don't do that. And look, she's busy as hell too. Like she's got her own business and stuff that she's working with, and I think it's just knowing how to prioritize, and that I'm always going to prioritize my family first, but that this is something worth it to me, so I'm willing to sacrifice my sleep at times and, just kind of wedge stuff in where you can, and have to bounce around with, be flexible with your schedule as much as you can be too,
That's the part that I'm struggling with a lot now, is just, I've gotten to the point where for the first time in, years, I think I told you this in a text, but like I've had a pretty decent traction with the show, and, getting guests is no issue right now. And, just whether it's actually doing the interviews or doing the back work of it, or, brainstorming on, what's next. Cause if you're like me, you're always thinking about what's next. I rebranded to Your Morning Drive. And I think the next week I was just like, Your Morning Drive is amazing, but what's next? I've since come to the conclusion that nothing is next for at least a long, long time. Yeah. I love the Your Morning Drive look and feel and everything, but that's difficult for me, man. As I just don't know when to shut the laptop.
I think for me,
and I don't have a kid yet, so yeah. I'm lucky for that.
I think a lot of mine are more like kind of big, crazy ideas, like much more like Bert Kreischer-ish in my ideas of like, okay, but how awesome would it be to like have this kind of festival, or like have this company, and like, like those are like the kind of big, like ridiculous ideas that are my like what's next thing,
Yeah.
But
yeah, like sponsoring a festival. This idea, there's the sky's the limit with this.
Believe me.
There's so much shit.
I've already been playing.
I want to be a fly on the wall listening to you and John's chats late at night of like, oh man, we're going to be able to do this. We're going to do that.
No idea.
Oh my God.
No idea. Just all the like stuff we're kicking around, and like, but it's fun. And like, that's the other part, is I'm lucky that the stuff that I'm working on is a fun thing, where it is also kind of a creative thing, which is really good for me. Like,
you don't get to be creative during the day, really.
Well, with this stuff, I'm ADHD as shit, man. So like I'm really, as I work on stuff, like it drives my wife insane, because I do better if I have the TV on and I'm listening to something and I'm working on something. Like,
I'm the same way.
I do better with just a lot of chaos and noise and everything.
You and I both.
Like,
my
wife,
so
much better with that.
She's same as yours, probably. She's just like, can you not just do one thing? No, I can't.
Yeah, like I have a problem like bouncing between just a bunch of different stuff. So this is great because I get to bounce between, a lot of different stuff, and kind of still get to be creative. Like I still get to like bounce between like, still writing songs and playing with my band, and like working on this and figuring out like, oh, but this would be great for StageDive. This would be okay. This is going in my back pocket of I'd love to produce something like this later for Sayge. And like I've heard you talk about like you have like TV show ideas and stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
and, like,
dude, so many things.
Me and the singer of my band, like just years ago, we were stoned and like came up with two ideas for stuff that it's like one day I will produce that. Like one day I'll be able to put that show together. I'll produce a movie or whatever.
Absolutely.
Like but like, who knows if that'll ever happen? But like those just ideas just kind of keep bouncing around with
and
stuff.
It's fun.
Like, yeah, it's fun.
It's fun to think about that shit, man.
Yeah.
I can't imagine like, not to throw shade on this kind of person, but like just a regular ass Joe Blow that goes to their job. They do their job every day. They go home and there's not like a creative even skin cell on their person.
Yeah.
And like to dream like that, like you and I do.
See,
like
I kind of feel like everyone has something.
I would hope
that.
so.
Everyone has something creative, but a lot of people never tap into it. And that's the part of it to me that's kind of sad, right? Is it's not even that it's like, oh man, it sucks, or I don't understand how this person can not have a creative thing or not have these ideas or not have whatever. And it's like, well, they probably would. They just don't. Like, they just don't allow themselves to think like that. That part sucks way more.
I almost feel like at this point, and I've said the word revolution a few times today, but like I feel like we're kind of going through, at least since what year is it? 2024? Maybe like 2020 and on, we've been going through kind of like a creative revolution.
Yeah.
Like I feel like everybody, especially with, the access to, technology in our pockets and stuff. I mean, we have access to do all the side hustles in the world, all the, all the everything. We have all the access to. Like me and Zach were saying, like you have no excuse at this point to not chase what you want to do.
Yeah, man, chase your dream.
But
and this is, like,
I
want people to chase their dream. That's what this is built around.
And I feel like in our parents' generation, and maybe their parents' generation too, it was like go to school, be the doctor, be the lawyer, and get out and do your thing, serve your family.
Yeah, a lot of people never really get to chase a dream.
No, and that sucks.
It does. And that is one thing that I will say. I noticed that when COVID hit, that a lot of people, all of a sudden it was like, okay, well now everyone has to work from home. So like the companies that could work from home did.
Sure.
Companies that couldn't, where it was essential workers, where like I still went to work because I was, but the companies that could work from home did. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, we proved we can. Why would we go back?
Yeah.
And then it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to ask your employees to go back. And from the employee standpoint, it doesn't make sense for you to ask me to leave my couch.
Yeah.
Like that. I proved to you I could do it from here.
Right.
So
arguably better or more productive, you know?
And I think it made a lot of people reevaluate though. And I think that's a big thing that a lot of people should do more is reevaluate. Like, again, like I've done it even with this, like always reevaluate the priorities and like always make sure that like, hey, this is super exciting. Make sure it's not taking over so much that like you're missing time with your family.
Yes,
like
correct.
Those things. But also reevaluate like how much time am I putting into, this job or whatever. Do you hate what you're doing? Because if you hate what you're doing, like find a different thing to do. Like we don't have to hate what we're doing anymore. Like we're lucky to get to be in a time where you don't have to do that,
Yeah.
Now, it might be a process to get from point A to point B. It might not be like tomorrow you get to go have whatever thing you want.
Right.
Like there is a path for a lot of people now to like, okay, well, what is it you want to do? Figure out how to get there. Or at least figure out like in between steps of how to get there. But I think a lot of people hit that point during COVID where all of a sudden everyone's stuck at home.
Yeah.
And you're stuck there going like, well, what would I like to do? And I think I've seen coming out of that a lot of people, like you said, that kind of creative revolution and stuff, like chase your dream. Like we have the ability to do it. We're lucky to get to live in a place where we can do that. So do it. Everyone should do that.
Yeah. I mean,
I think it's good for people to be uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
I think everyone should make themselves uncomfortable at times.
I hate being uncomfortable, but it's good.
It's a good thing though, like, and I said this on, this is one of those things, kind of like we talked about, like there's enough food for everyone to eat. I said this back on a podcast we did at some point, and Zach heard it and got all excited, but there's always sink or swim. People talk about sink or swim.
Yeah.
And to me, there is a third option that is the worst one, because hopefully you swim, right? Like that's always the hopeful in that. And if you sink, that sucks because you die, right? But treading water is way worse because you tread water and you tire yourself out, and then eventually you sink and you die.
Yeah.
So you can sink or swim, but you can also tread water.
Yeah.
And you can sit there and spin your wheels and burn yourself out and just
give
tread
up.
Water with something you hate until you give up and then you die. And that shit sucks. So do something you want to do.
Yeah, man. I love that. I love all of this. It's so it's so fun to get to. And I texted Zach about this after I got done talking with him, because I'm getting a similar feeling inside that I felt after talking to him.
I could hear it in that episode.
Oh
too.
yeah,
Like, especially
I
knowing him, like I could
right.
hear that.
Like I walk him out. I shut the door behind him, and I'm just like, God damn it, that was lit. like conversations like this like fire me up because I feel like I was raised, not to discredit my parents or anything, but I was raised in that like non-creative. My dad was an engineer. My mom was stay-at-home mom. She took care of me and my siblings. And there was never and to my knowledge, in my whole family, aunts, uncles, cousins, unless I'm forgetting someone, nobody is a creative professional. No one is in anything
it's interesting you would get into
remotely.
podcasting and stuff.
I know, dude. I mean, it's just all my family thinks it's cool, but also, I mean, an entrepreneur hears this all the time, like, oh, you still doing that stage dive thing?
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I am.
Yeah. I heard, I think it was on Shark Tank that I know it's been said a million places, but like, it's always stuck with me that like an entrepreneur is the only person that will work 80 hours to avoid working 40.
Yeah.
And I love that because it's also what's happening right now. But
correct.
Like, yeah, I'm still doing this thing. Like it didn't take off yet, but I know it will.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm not giving up. Like,
yeah, don't give up.
And what I've learned too is even just like people who haven't done the show, like I've reached out to either different,
Chris Pratt.
Hey, hopefully by the time this airs, something has developed there because things are developing now.
Are you serious?
Well, I mean, so we're recording this July 16th, okay, to just give people context. It might not come out for a few weeks, almost maybe a month from now. But somebody, Sharon actually hit me up and said, hey, I knew this guy who does PR in Los Angeles.
No way.
Gives me his number. I text him and he's like, hey, I have the contact info for Chris Pratt's agency.
What?
And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, here's her email address. Email her. And I was like, okay. So I sent her an email, whole pitch email.
Yeah.
And this is hilarious. You'll die at this. I haven't told anybody yet this, not even Catherine, my wife. So automatic email reply. Hey, I'm out on maternity leave. No. If you have questions, email this person.
Whoa.
So I immediately email that person. The same thing.
You're going down a
Oh yeah. Same thing. Except not maternity leave.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm out of the office until August 20th. If you have questions or concerns or requests, email this person. So I finally emailed that person and I hit send and I just like stood there for a second. I was like,
yeah.
And no automatic reply. And I was like, okay, it's sent.
Okay, maybe. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And
so now yet?
No, not yet. Not yet. But
it's coming.
We wait.
It's coming.
It is coming.
It's coming.
It's coming.
At the very least, if you send enough of them, you'll get a response telling you to leave them alone.
Yeah.
So
and hey, whether he does it or not, if I can get his agent or someone in his agent's office to tell me to fuck off, that's a win.
Dude, if you have to continuously send enough stuff that his agent is that invested in telling you to fuck off, at some point Chris Pratt might be like, hold on, who is this guy that's apparently stalking me?
Yeah.
And if nothing else, he might watch an episode of your show.
You know what's funny is I asked the guy because I sent I sent him the guy that gave me the contact info. I sent him a couple drafts of the email.
Yeah.
And included in it, he had given me the advice. He's like, you need to explain to them like this whole like you're tagging him on Instagram every single day.
Yeah.
And this whole journey, whatever.
Give it a cool story.
Right. Yeah. Basically let him know he's not just another guest. Like,
right.
This has more meaning to you because of 70 some days of tagging him on Instagram. So I typed up something and the first draft of it, I sent it to him and he goes, ooh, kind of sounds stalkerish. Maybe reword it. And I was like, okay, fair. It said something like, I've been longing for this or something. It was bad.
Don't use the word longing. That's not good.
Yeah, that longing is only ever used by creeps and stalkers. So don't ever use that. But we came to something that was pretty decent. And now we just wait, man. I mean, like you said, if someone just says, nah, he's not doing it. It's not
going to happen. It's like, hey,
that's fine.
Word got to him, maybe,
Yep.
Like if nothing else.
Yep. If nothing else, I'm going to, shoot, at that point, do I stop tagging him on Instagram every day?
Just keep going.
Yeah. Just keep doing it forever.
You just keep going.
And then just check in with them like 2 years down the road and be like, hey, I'm on day 2000 or 700.
I'm going to keep doing this.
I'm going to keep tagging him until you guys let me interview him.
Dude, if this reaches a point where you have like a framed cease and desist letter on your
dude, that'd be sick
studio shot here, like that'd be awesome.
It'd be so cool to have a cease and desist letter hanging up here.
Yeah, so I'm saying,
but like in the frame,
right
of Chris Pratt eventually sitting in there and be like, hey, Chris, your agent told me to fuck off so many times that they had to send me a cease and desist letter.
Yes, there you go. That's the big dream.
Hell yeah.
That's the big dream.
Hey, Chris Pratt on the podcast is the front thing. Getting to tell Chris that his agent told me to fuck off is another thing.
So you said you kind of bounce around with different stuff too all the time, right? So because it does seem like you've kind of had a bunch of different, like, all these shows have been different that you've done, like I know you had the one movie one. This is much more of like sitting down and like getting to know people and stuff. At what point are you kind of like, okay, this is the thing I'm going to do, and then you start working towards that? Like, is it just kind of an impulsive thing, or do you like plan that out?
So, what's funny is over the course of doing the movie podcast, here and there, I got opportunities to interview nobody crazy, just local.
Sure, yeah.
I would, I had this movie podcast, and every once in a while I would meet a buddy or meet a guy, and I'd be like, man, I'd love to interview you. And I would upload it to the movie podcast feed. And it didn't make sense.
Yeah.
And, people would be like, what are these one-off? And I would always call them something different. I'd be like, Logan interviews X.
Right.
And it never made sense, and nobody cared, but it was something that I saw. And I was like, scrolling through my episode list, and I'm like, man, these don't deserve to be within this jumbled.
It should be its own thing.
It should be its own thing. And then I got some co-hosts for the movie one. Co-hosts left, co-hosts got in. I cycled through co-hosts so many times that I just kind of took a break. I took maybe like a 2-week break from recording episodes, maybe 3 weeks. It was a decent break. It was around the time that we got married, so it was justified. I just said, I'm going to step away. I'm going on my honeymoon. I'm getting married. I'm doing all these things. And at some point in the honeymoon, I got COVID on my honeymoon.
Oh, that sucks.
In bed in Mexico
that sucks.
The whole week. Wife's living it up at the pool and the beach, and I'm just bedridden.
Damn.
Sucked balls. Need to redo the honeymoon. We've said that for the past year or so, that we just need to redo it. But anyway, there was a moment that I was laying there, and I was just like, man, I miss talking to people. Like, I miss the co-host interaction.
Right. Okay.
So as soon as we got back from the honeymoon, I was like, okay, maybe I should just try to like recruit another co-host to do the movie podcast with me.
A regular host.
Yeah, like a regular, consistent person.
Yeah.
And I just never found someone that was willing to put the time commitment in.
Right.
And I understand that, just like, you guys understand. No one cares about your baby as much as you do.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
It got to the point where I was like, okay, I guess I'll just stop covering movies, because nothing's more boring than hearing one dude sit there and talk about movies.
So now you're just the Simpsons guy.
Exactly. Exactly. So I'd be sitting there and I did this for a few weeks. I would just sit there and talk to myself about, the new Jurassic Park movie. It was, it was fine, and then as I'm talking, I'd like bore myself to sleep.
Right.
Cause like you'd be hoping that there's someone across me that'd be like, oh no, man, I loved it. And then there's that discourse like we're having right now.
Right.
And it's like so painfully boring.
Yeah, because even if you agree, then you're talking about the stuff that you liked. And hopefully, if you disagree, now you have a whole episode worth of arguing.
Facts.
So
we're sitting there, and by we, I mean me, and I'm like, yeah, but the movie thing can come and go, because it did get to the point. I've always loved going to the movies, but it got to the point where going to the movies almost felt like work.
Yeah, I think I've heard you say this on other stuff. Like it just started to feel like a job.
It just did feel like a job, but then I was like, what never felt like a job was getting to know people. And I've always worked jobs where I've either been in customer service or I've been very people oriented. And I've just always been like, man, I just love hearing about I just love hearing someone's story. I've said that with Sharon on her show, and I think we said it in here on mine. But I just love to get somebody's like, here's where we started, here's where we are, and here's how we got here. I love that shit. That shit fuels me.
I wonder if it's maybe because you said you didn't have that creative kind of background as a kid or whatever, that now you have this like outlet. You want to know about other people's, like, did you have that creative outlet? Like, where'd you come from? Like, you kind of have that instinctive, like, curiosity of everybody's story.
That's the thing, man, is talking about it with Sharon a few times on the phone or on each other's shows, is like, I don't know where it came from. It just was born out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I liked to draw as a kid, but I was never I never at any point in my life considered being like an artist. Like I liked to draw. Me and my brother both loved to either trace things or draw or color. Like we went through this huge coloring phase, and we were just really good. But as good as you can be at coloring in the lines. But it's just I don't know where it came from. It kind of just came out of nowhere. And I think that first, like, that's where all the family comments of like, oh, you're still doing that?
Yeah.
Are you making hundreds of dollars a month yet from it?
Yeah.
And then you say no. And then they're like, oh, well,
why are you doing it?
Why are you doing it then?
Yeah.
And it's like, nah, bro, I've noticed, oh, I remember where this tangent was going originally, is I'm sitting, I'm pitching episodes to people and they'll say, no, I'm not interested. That's not my sort of thing. So I reached out to this company recently, a CEO of a pretty big company that's based in Atlanta. And the CEO, she said, podcasts aren't my thing, but I did look at your stuff. Like I did, when you sent me your link, I did go to the thing and I scrolled and saw that you've been doing this for years. And she said, and I love your consistency. Keep it up. It'll take you far. And yeah, it was an L because A, I didn't get to talk to this person, but it was a W in the fact that like, I was like, okay, so the consistency does matter.
It
like,
does. It absolutely does.
People love consistency.
Yeah, yeah. And it is noticeable if you go like, oh, I'll check out this new show, or like someone told me to listen to this or whatever. And you go to it and it's like, well, there's an episode this week and then they didn't have one for like 6 months before that.
Right.
Like, well, what the fuck happened there?
Right. Exactly. People got people got questions about that.
Yeah.
But then if they see like, wow, this dude, besides, a 3-week break when I got married.
Sure. Yeah.
See pretty consistently since 2018, I've uploaded episodes pretty consistently. People are like, oh, okay. So he's not going to quit.
Right. I think there's also, and I think it's really interesting too, because there's kind of two sides of this actually. Like literally as I was about to say that's like the Joe Rogan thing, of like, I think a lot of people have this misconception of they see that big deal, right? They see that $100 million,
sure,
then like $300 million deal or whatever it was that he got, they see that and they go like, oh, there's a lot of money in podcasting, huh? And it's like, so what do you make? And it's like, I'm not Joe Rogan, dude. Like, I'm not making $300 million.
I don't get
You would know if I was.
Yeah, dude, if I was making, I saw some crazy thing the other day that said that based on ad revenue, he makes an average of like 30 grand an episode.
Yeah.
And he's making,
honestly, I'm surprised it's not more.
Right. So if I was making 30 grand, essentially a week, y'all would know.
Yeah,
I mean,
you would know.
You would just notice lifestyle changes.
Then you go like, well, then how come he's the guy? And it's like, well, he was among the first, like that is part of it.
Yeah.
But you also hear him talk about like the story of like building that show. He talked about there was no one listening and he did it consistently anyway. Like he just kept doing it. And there were even times that his wife was like he was interfering with plans and stuff. And she was like, you don't have to do it. And he's like, I do. Why? I don't know, but I do. Like I have to do it.
Conversations I have with my wife there.
Consistency though is when someone found his show, he had a back catalog and he had something for people to listen to. And as they listened to the show, they fell in love with the show. And then now it's not just a listener of an episode. You have a fan of the show and like people that came back every single week and every single episode, no matter who it was, if it was a comic or if it was just some dude from, whatever. And then eventually is now, he has these, crazy, I have like scientists on and he'll have celebrities on, he'll have whoever, but originally it was just him hanging out with his friends.
Yeah, exactly.
But there were so many of them. When you found a guy you liked, you had so many hours of being able to consume that product, So yeah, you can look at him now 10 years down the road or whatever and go like, well, how come I'm not making that money? Look how we got here. It was the consistency, like he busted his ass to continuously put out a quality product every single time. And even when it wasn't making money, even when there was no one watching, even when it was for 0 people, I'm having fun. I'm just going to do it anyway. And I'm just going to commit to doing it and keep going and keep going and keep going. And that paid off.
Yeah. So
there's a lot of people that pays off for.
Yeah. And I'm hoping at some point, somebody somewhere is like, wow, he's been doing it for 360, 70 some episodes.
We should get Chris Pratt on.
We should get Chris Pratt in there. At the very, I've even said, I almost put this in the email, but it would have sounded desperate. I'll be like, listen, even if I can ask him one question, just give me 10 minutes with the guy. And that'll be good enough for me.
We actually did this with somebody for StageDive, but does he have Cameo?
I don't know.
You should make a Cameo too, like if it was for someone else.
Yeah.
Or even from someone else that's like a shout out to your show.
Yeah.
And just at the very least have him acknowledge your morning drive and just see if you can get anything.
Dude, I just thought of an idea that I've never even thought of before. And that is, I could start because the people on Cameo, not to say that they aren't super duper famous, because there's a lot of people on Cameo that are famous, but like some of these people on here, like Joel McHale is
Yeah.
$300. Like, couldn't I? What if I just paid Joel McHale $300 to do this show?
Yeah, well, I think the thing is you have to submit
Oh,
something
true.
and they read it or whatever. But so we submitted something that was like, hey, can you give a shout out to our team for we hit this milestone or whatever,
Oh,
and
true.
put in like what it was for, and they were like, hold on, what is this? This is pretty cool, and it like made them interested in what we were doing.
Dude, yeah, at first I misunderstood, but now I get it.
Yeah. Make him interested in what you're doing.
Yeah, now your boy's gonna be up late scrolling through all of these Cameo. I mean, there's so many people on this damn thing. I mean,
Yeah, I know.
comedians, and I mean, Freddie Prinze Jr.
That's a weird one.
That is a weird one,
Who
but
wants that?
bro, that's Fred.
I mean, yeah, but like who's so excited to get that message?
Nobody is tuning into to Freddie Prinze Jr.'s story and is saying, "Oh, I'm gonna go listen to this podcast that Freddie Prinze Jr. likes."
It's more like who's so excited for Freddie Prinze Jr. to be like, "Hey, happy birthday from fucking whoever."
Hey, happy birthday from the guy who played Fred in the Scooby Doo
Yeah.
movie. You know who I coincidentally, maybe it's a sign from like the God that I need to hit this person up, but Wayne Knight, you know the name? He is the fat guy in Jurassic Park with the yellow raincoat.
Okay.
Maybe I shouldn't have said fat guy, but in the movie you were fat, Wayne. Okay, well, if you ever hear this. But he's from Cartersville originally.
Is he really?
I found that out today because one of my aunts just out of nowhere just texts me the Wikipedia link to him.
Okay.
And I sent like a question mark and I was like, why did you just send me Wayne
why
Knight?
this?
And she was like, hey, he's from Cartersville. Maybe you could like try to get him based on that alone. And I was like, I'll try.
Okay.
Because it's
So
not
two
like
things. Number one, I don't think you know how podcasting works. Number two, maybe you could have just sent that as a text instead of me reading
instead
through
of
Wikipedia.
Correct. If you were to guess, how much money do you think his Cameo costs?
I feel like not a lot.
It's a lot more than I thought it would be.
$200?
$330.
$300. That wasn't that far off. That seems too much.
It is too
like
much.
Too much.
He's definitely marketing himself.
I'm sorry, Wayne Knight. This seems like too much.
Oh, is this the dude that plays Pumbaa from The Lion King?
What?
Yeah, this is absolutely going to be what I'm doing today.
Yeah,
I have 5 other things I need to do tonight,
now.
but this is now risen to the top of my priority list.
You're going to have a new show that's based solely around getting cameos done.
Or if I could just convince these people to do it. Like the guy who plays Pumbaa in The Lion King, $29 for a cameo from him. I will gladly pay.
That's worth the $29.
I will gladly pay him $30 to do. I mean, it's The Lion King.
Yeah, fuck it. That's throw $30 into that deal. Is the worst that happens. You lose $30. I mean, it's not my money that's being spent. So
you're like, yeah, Logan, throw your money.
Yeah. Throw all your money into this, dude.
What I should do is just do what you said and get an investor to just invest like 30 grand in me. And then all that money just gets sent on cameos.
I'm sure they're going to want to see a business plan, but yeah, I mean, shoot your shot.
We'll just tell them to listen to this episode. There's a lot of really powerful self-starter, entrepreneur, hustle until you make it.
Hey, that's what you do. Get your morning drive up on StageDive and get as many people listening to as you possibly can. Take all that money and sink it into Cameo.
Okay.
There you go.
Send me something later.
Dude, yeah.
I'm game. Email me later.
When we leave here, I'll get you set up on it.
Okay, bet. Yeah, I mean, freaking shit, man. Now, yeah, I got to get off this tab because I'm gonna the ADHD,
eyes cutting back.
The ADHD in me is like, well, fuck this podcast thing. Let's look at Cameo.
I'm gonna have to like slam your laptop.
Yeah, for real. Yeah. Oh man, dude, how freaking awesome. So when you were growing up, did you have this creative bone? I know you said you had the music thing.
Yeah. I was very lucky that my dad was in a band when he was younger,
Sure.
and kept that going. It's cool that like my grandparents play, my dad plays. Like I've there's been many times where I've gotten to play music with my family.
Sure.
Not, you know, like multiple members of my family.
I
So,
love
which is
that.
really, really cool. But also, I think you know, I attribute a lot of this to my grandpa, and I love it because it's a huge, huge part of who I am. That it was always like work hard to play hard. Like, you know what I
Correct.
mean? Like that's been a thing my whole life where, you know, everyone in my family has never been afraid to still be a kid. Like, has never been afraid to like not grow up all the way.
I love
And
that,
like,
man.
I'm never gonna grow up all the way. I don't think, you know what I mean? And so the fact that, like, dude, when we would play like Call of Duty online and stuff, like my grandparents would go and buy a system and jump online with us. Like they had no problem. Like, nope, I'm gonna be a kid too. Like, they'll just jump right in and play video games with their kids and the grandkids and everything else. And it was like that was just kind of across the board. Like our whole family would play, and then like our whole family would play music, and you know,
I
just
love that, bro.
I think that, and then also, you know, like we'd go camping and stuff and sit around the fire and talk, and like that really made me, I think, interested in things like this. You know, like talking to people and hearing these stories and getting to know people, and like that's how I got to know the younger versions of my family. You know, like I didn't know them then, but I've got to hear these stories and stuff, and like I think that goes a really long way. Like even when people don't realize it, you know, that like I think that really helped me cultivate like it's okay to put a lot of energy into stuff that's just fun. Like it might not ever turn in like this probably will not make you money, but it's fun and that's worth it. Like you enjoy doing this, so it's worth it. You know, and I think that my whole life that has been something. And now that I'm a little bit older, I see a lot of people that didn't have that.
Yeah.
And I value that a lot. You know what I mean? Because I just friends, family, like I just see other people that like didn't have that thing, you know, and sometimes like for example, when we go on vacation, I know so many people, and my wife is one of these people, do like so many people that like a lot of times they have to get into vacation, you know, like it's
Yeah.
like we go and it's like, well, the first couple of days they're still like winding down. Dude, if
Yeah.
we're going on vacation, when I clock out, I am on vacation.
Oh,
Like I am
absolutely,
in
dude.
it
The
immediately.
second we get in the car to drive to our destination,
I'm
I
in
am being a goofy
it.
ass
Yeah,
motherfucker.
I am in it. Like I
Yeah.
don't need to adjust to vacation. Like I have to adjust out of vacation when I'm back to like having to live life normally. You know what I mean? But I never have a problem adjusting into like now it's time to fuck off. And I just see so many people have a hard time with that transition of like I don't know how to relax or I don't know how to have fun with this or you know, and that stuff my wife is really good at. I just mean like the vacation thing, but like you know, I it's cool because I see that like with our kid, both of us have no problem just jumping on the floor and being a kid with her, you know, and I had that with my parents. And I just, as I've gotten older, I've realized that, like, oh, I know people that didn't have that. And it might be hard for them to understand how to just jump on the floor and be a kid with their kid. You know what I mean? And like, I'm really happy that I got to have that when I did, you know?
Yeah, dude. I mean, I just hearing you say that almost makes me want to be emotional. Our families are very similar. I mean,
Yeah.
to this day, I mean, 2 weeks ago, my brother and sister, they play video games. But my dad has always been, he's the reason I play video games also.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's just, I played PlayStation 1 with my dad when I was a kid. And just from there, I mean, the other night we had a LAN party and played Minecraft all night.
Nice.
I mean, that's that shit. I mean, same thing. Like, when me and my brother were young, like he would take us to the Call of Duty midnight releases and we'd buy the game at midnight. We'd stay up all night playing it.
Yeah.
So like thinking about that stuff, and what I'll tell my buddies, I'll be like, yeah, me and my dad and brother were playing Minecraft till 3 a.m. last night.
Yeah.
They'll be like, your dad plays Minecraft? That is so badass. And I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, dude, my dad is a fucking kid.
Yeah. You know,
And he's 25 years in his career, business professional, executive at this company, but he goes home and plays Minecraft.
but that's worth
like
something.
it's amazing, dude.
And that's worth something.
It's
and that's,
such a great thing.
that's what I mean is that I think a lot of people have a hard time understanding that. They have a hard time understanding that that is worth something. That like, yeah, that made you no money. That didn't do anything to advance you in a career. That didn't do anything to advance you in life as a whole. You're talking about that right now for a reason, though. Like that is worth something, you know.
Absolutely.
And the fact that like my grandpa's a pool, we'd go over there and like jumping off the diving board and someone's like throwing a ball. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like you're jumping off catching the football or whatever. Also grew up in a family where it's like, okay, that happened, I caught it, and then like me and my cousins are like jumping off of stuff, and then eventually like my dad or my uncle or whoever was like, all right, now it's my turn.
Yeah,
and it's like
exactly.
they're gonna jump off too. You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
that's worth something. You know what I mean? And there's a reason you remember all that stuff.
Man, it makes me feel so bad for those who didn't have that.
Yeah.
Because I have faint memories of like, you know, both of my parents have like 4 or 5 siblings each.
Okay.
So, I mean, I had 6 sets of aunts and uncles on both sides. So there was a Christmas, I never forget this, that we would gather around grandma and grandpa's house, and we all had Nintendo DSs way back in the day.
Yeah.
And we all would sync up and play Mario Kart together.
Yeah,
and my aunts and uncles, we'd even give it to my grandma and grandpa and they'd try it.
Yeah.
I mean, bro, I love that you had that same experience of like your family is just down to clown.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
nobody cares.
And commit to it. Dude.
Yeah.
Like, dude, even now, like my mother-in-law, when Christmas rolls around, like she goes all out for Christmas. But it's something that like the whole family talks about. You know what I mean? Is everyone loves it that like when you go over there and it's Christmas time, like even before we had our kid, where there's, you know, even before now there's a little kid or whatever. Sure. It's like, no, when we come over here, like Santa's real as long as we're here. Right. You know what I mean? Like we're
having a great time.
We're gonna commit, you know, like you're committing to the holiday, you know, and that stuff that goes a long way, man.
I think that goes also into like creating, like, of course, everything that you go through when you're younger shapes who you are as an adult.
Yeah.
And like you said, like if you would have never had that, you might not be that guy for your daughter.
Right.
And I know I'm going to be that guy for my future kids.
Yeah.
Like taking my kids to video game, if they even do midnight releases anymore. I haven't been to one in years, but I mean, taking my kids to get energy drinks late at night to stay up all night and play video games and watch movies. Like that is the dad I will be.
Yeah.
Because I got that from my dad.
Yeah. And it's fun, man.
Yeah.
You know, like it's fun. And I think it has made me like appreciate that stuff more. You know, I remember a buddy of mine, this is before I had a kid. We were working together and just exhausted, dude. We were doing long hours working on this one job, and he had just had a kid, you know, and so we're taking a break or whatever, and I'm asking him like, you know, hey, how's your boy doing and stuff, and he was telling me that, you know, he had this weird moment of he was sitting on the couch and like his son's really too young to, you know, like he's a baby, you know, so he's just kind of wrapped up and he's just sitting there like holding them and he's watching TV, and so he's watching something that is like for him, you know what I mean? Like he's watching, you know, like The Hangover or something like that. And he's got like his baby there, so he doesn't even know what's going on, you know. And he said he had a weird moment though where he realized like, oh shit, I'm sitting here doing this, and at some point my dad was sitting here doing this with me and was watching something that was like not for kids, you know, but it made him realize like, oh yeah, I'm in my early 20s. Like I feel like I'm a kid and I don't know what I'm doing. And at some point my parents were kids that didn't know what they were doing. And it made him like, just like, oh, hey, you know what? It's all of a sudden a lot easier to understand maybe some of the stuff where like they might've made a mistake or what, like he said that he had just like a whole new level of understanding going like, oh yeah, I guess when you're growing up, you think that they're always like fully grown adults, you know, but at some point I was a baby and they were like 24 or something like that, you know, and like they don't know what the fuck they're doing either, you know, like same way I don't right now.
There's no rule book on parenting. Just figure it out.
Yeah. But he said it gave him like that whole new perspective. And I remember thinking that, and then it was cool because then I, you know, when I had my kid, I'm sitting there on the couch with her. I was like, oh, that's exactly what Corey was talking about right here. Like, I had that same moment, but you know, like those things come full circle for sure, you know. And so having those moments where it's like, hey, go be a kid, like you're right, like you do remember those times where it's like, oh yeah, my parents did this with me, you know, like that's why I'm down here doing this, you know.
Hell yeah, Nick. So you know, if you've listened to my episodes, that there's a grouping of questions, and you might have an advantage to this since you've listened to said episodes.
So can I call you out that I noticed you changed one of the questions?
I do change them from time to time.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
I noticed you changed them.
So I'll ask them, and I'll get home from a recording, and I'll be like, that just didn't like feel right, or the way I was asking it didn't feel right. So some of these questions evolve as I record. So maybe I'll have one that trips you up.
Okay.
But you know, the first one for sure is what's your favorite movie?
All right, so I hate this question because it's so hard.
It's tough.
I genuinely don't have an answer. I love movies. I really do. That's why I was interested when you were talking about doing the movie podcast thing. I love movies.
Yeah.
Definitely love a lot of like 80s movies and stuff. So I don't know. Part of me wants to say maybe like something like Die Hard or something like that, but I don't know that this is my favorite movie. But this is gonna be my answer because it has probably painted my decision making the most in my life of any movie.
Okay.
So I don't know that it's technically my favorite, but it is the movie that I looked at where I was like, "That's how I'm gonna live my life from now on." Is Ferris Bueller's Day Off?
Oh, fire! Yeah. Flames.
But just that, I saw that movie and was like, "Yeah, that's how I'm gonna live from now on." Is that?
That kid just doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah. So that probably painted my decision making a lot more than maybe it should have at times.
Maybe that's okay.
Yeah, so
that's
I'll,
all right.
I'll do that.
Okay, bet. What was your first job?
Working at the car wash that my parents owned and ran, one of the Mr. Clean car
Really?
washes, and so I worked there as a kid. Yeah.
Hell yeah! What were you doing? Were you just scrubbing?
Yeah, I was one of the people out front that just gets your dick kicked in on a busy Saturday.
Damn. All right. Very cool. Very cool.
That's how I paid for my music equipment though. That's how I bought my amps and my guitars and all that stuff, was busting ass and getting, $1-2 off a car sometimes. Something, if you get a $5 tip, you're over the moon.
Yeah, for sure.
Just stacking. And when I went and I bought my my Mesa, I got it used and it was still, over $1,000, which I got it, I'm like 16, 15 or 16. So that's,
that's an achievement. Money. Yeah.
So I worked over the summer and got that. So when I did go to Guitar Center to buy it, I just had like a stack of cash that was like that, because it was like mostly ones.
Here you go, sir.
Yeah, some dude had to like count it out like I was a stripper. Like,
what is? I think I know the answer to this one. What's your dream job?
I think what I'm doing, man. Like getting to be successful with this and having enough money to put into, like I said, just anything, all the crazy stuff that I want to do and just want to get into, just being able to like just go
do the damn
path.
thing.
Yeah.
Do you drink coffee?
I do.
What's your coffee order?
Just boring, just cream and sugar. Now if we're at the house, sometimes do like an Irish coffee.
Sure,
that's good. But yeah, just pretty boring.
Yeah, you strike me as a black coffee kind of guy.
Not normally. I can drink it black. I depends. Like I don't prefer it black.
Yeah,
but I will drink it that way if that's all that's there.
Yeah.
If we go through like a Starbucks or something like that, caramel macchiato.
Sure.
If not, great. Then it's just cream and sugar.
I might crush one of those.
Yeah. a lot of times at the house, it's like just cream and sugar, or like just creamer or something like that. Yeah. And then as I fill it back up, it gets a little bit more black every time.
Yeah. Do you have any allergies?
Penicillin.
Really?
Yeah. I have eczema really bad.
Really?
So, yeah, like really, really bad.
Huh.
Yeah.
Damn. Got it.
Yeah. That sucks.
Is there someone here? Rank queso, guac, and salsa.
So easy. Such an easy one.
Hit me.
Queso, by far the best.
Yep.
Queso's top tier.
Facts.
Always number one.
Facts.
Salsa, always good. You know what I mean? Like if it's good salsa, that's it's kind of hard to mess up salsa.
Yeah.
Guac, I absolutely hate. It's trash. It's a worthless food. So easy. It's an easy tier. Queso's number one. Salsa still good, but I could do without if I had to. Guac, I hope they stop making it.
Yeah.
I hope the people that enjoy it don't get to enjoy it anymore. I hope they stop.
I have the same answer as you. I hate guac. I don't think I'll ever like guac. You can give it to me in 50 different ways. I'll never like it. And queso's number one always. Queso is bae.
Always number one. Even bad queso. Even still pretty good.
Facts. Where do you consume your music that is not StageDive?
Spotify, just for the convenience of it.
Sure.
Of course. So that or like SiriusXM. I listen to a lot of like SiriusXM. YouTube and Spotify, just kind of a combination of whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And StageDive.
Yeah, of course, and StageDive.
Yeah. So this is a fun one for you. I can't wait for this answer. So you're organizing a music festival and you get to pick 3 headliners.
I hate.
Yeah. 3 big artists. Go for it. Or 3 of your favorite. Yeah. So, and maybe I need to reword it because my brother took it as, I want to make the most money. So he was like, I'm going to put Drake in there. I'm going to put Bad Bunny in there.
I'm in the same place as Zach, where it's like, it might not even be my favorite bands. It's just what makes sense for the lineup.
Sure. Let's talk about if it was like the dream lineup for you.
For me?
For the 3 headliners, who are they?
So this is why I hate this question, right? It's because I love so much different music
Yeah.
that it's hard because my 3 headliners are going to be just probably relatively one genre
Sure.
based. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Iron Maiden,
Okay.
my number one band.
Okay.
Metallica has always been
The GOAT.
like right there with
Yep.
Maiden. And the last one I have a hard time because I want to say maybe like Pantera. I love Pantera. It's the reason I started playing guitar. But I also think of like, and they were even like the reunion thing they did is incredible, even without the Abbott brothers. But I feel like maybe like Foo Fighters because they were such a fun show.
Yeah.
And so that's when you say like music festival, I almost think like having different days of
Sure.
like I would want a day that is Metallica and Maiden and Sabbath and all these, you know, and then I would want one where I got to have like, you know, like Zach Bryan and Jelly Rolls and like those type of artists. But man, the Foo Fighters closing out a festival is so much fun. Like we went to Rockville years ago and they closed it out. And after like 3 or 4 days of like music festival, having Foo Fighters put on a 2-hour show is one of the most awesome shows you'll ever fucking be at.
Yeah. That's badass.
They're such a fun live band.
What is a song that you can belt from your inner soul?
I've not heard you ask that one.
Go-to karaoke song.
I don't really do karaoke.
What's a song that comes on in the car and you're just like, yes, and you crank that shit to the loudest?
Any song I like. That's any song I like, I'm gonna blast. So I don't know, probably something from any of those that I just named.
Yeah.
You know, like something from like Foo Fighters, I'll blow my voice out on. Or if it's Maiden, I can't hit any of those notes and I'll still belt it in the car by myself.
Of course.
Yeah.
What does a self-care day look like for you?
Oh man.
No obligations, no work, no stage dive, no nothing.
Okay.
It's a you day.
Sleep in, not too late, but sleep in a little bit. I don't want to get up too early. Honestly, I heard Zach say this on his. So honestly, maybe like a farmer's market.
Okay.
You know, like that. We've been doing that. It's very nice.
Yeah, it is nice.
Get some family time, get to hang with the family. I definitely would want to play some music. So have some time to jam. And that actually not just play music, but jam. Just have people come over and have one of those like basement jam things, you know, where everyone's just like everyone's
shredding,
over and that probably get pretty intoxicated probably at that jam.
Yep.
Probably just a nice easy day, man. Just playing music, hanging out with some friends, family, get some good time with everybody.
Good stuff. What does success look like to you?
Freedom. That's a big thing for me. So I want a lot of money, of course, just like everyone does, but it's not about the money. It's not about the number in the bank. It's about the freedom
that number allows you to have.
Yeah. I want to be able to do whatever I want at any time. And also the people around me be able to have them get to share in that. You know what I mean? That like, if we want to go somewhere on a cool vacation, like I want to be able to bring my friends and family. Like, hey, let's all go. Let's all go enjoy this thing. You know, like throw like a big party type of thing. Like I want to be able to do that type of stuff. Buy, you know, whatever stupid toys that I want. You know what I mean? Like all that. It's the freedom that comes along with that.
I agree with you 1,000%. What was your first car?
A 2003 Nissan Sentra.
There you go.
Which I totaled.
Nice. Yeah. Good job. What's your biggest fear?
Okay. Well, I mean, do you want like the real answer or like
both?
Okay.
The fun answer and the
okay. So like
serious answer.
The more like serious answer, I think would be any. You know, I think it's that fear of like failure or like letting down like your family. You know, I think especially now being a parent, you know, like like I want to make sure that I always do right by my kid and stuff like that. So I think that's like the real answer. You know, is like, you know, you don't want to like let those people down. The more fun answer, which is still real, is snakes. I don't fuck with snakes.
Don't fuck with snakes. And then lastly, 10 years from now, man, where are you?
Hopefully back here answering these questions again.
Hey, I'd like it to be closer than 10 years.
Yeah, that's true. No, I mean, like I said earlier, man, I'm hoping doing all the same stuff. I'm hoping that, we're able to kind of have the freedom that we're talking about, like we all get to live our dream.
I love that, dude. Dude, I will go ahead and let you promote as much as you want. Go ahead and
Yeah,
the stage is yours.
Thank you. So, actually, we can do this now, but there is one more thing with StageDive that I do need.
Let's talk.
I do need to talk about. So we are not on the Google Play Store or the Apple Store.
Okay.
And there is a reason for that.
Okay.
You actually have to pay a fee for every time somebody downloads that. So if we kept our price at $3.99, which, like you said, it's so cheap, like we want to have it there so that it is accessible to everybody, we would lose money every time somebody downloads it.
Yeah.
So you will be able to have an app. You can still put it on your home screen, all that, but you have to come to us once. So you have to go to stagedive.com one time. You can download the app from there.
Got it.
And then it'll go to your home screen just like anything else. Like it'll work just like any other app, but we're not on like the regular app stores and stuff, because we would have to increase our price to where now you're paying Spotify money for for what reason?
Yeah. Okay. Well, that makes perfect sense. I'm glad you said that. I'll link all that in the description and stuff.
Okay. So stagedive.com, obviously. Go there. Please support this. Please support all the artists on there. Listen to my show on there, the Guys Like Us show that I do with my dad and our buddy Ryan. Use my promo code, guys, which is going to give you 25% off the first month. And we will get you set up with a promo code when you jump on too.
Okay.
And then my band, Maledictorian. Please come check us out. And then let's see, I already promoted the pod. So Sayge Media be the other thing.
Hell yeah, dude.
Anyone that's looking to, produce or like wants to get any like music done or produced or anything like that. If you have a podcast that you want to start and you're not really sure like how to start, or if you just need someone to work on it or whatever, come talk to me. So probably Sayge Media at Gmail is going to be the easiest thing. And if you are an artist that you're looking to jump on StageDive, have any issues with anything, or if you want to talk more about like any of the details or whatever, Nick at StageDive is going to be the easiest email for that.
Perfect. I will put all of that all that stuff in the description. In the description, so that it's easy to access, easy to click. People aren't gonna have to go searching. It's all gonna be below. Dude, I loved this time.
Thank you, man. This was a lot of fun.
So much fun. I know that it's not the only time we'll do this, because I feel like we've only scratched the surface.
Yeah, for sure.
My computer's just gonna die.
You're good.
So I can't wait to have you back. I wish you continued success. I can't wait to get involved more and promote StageDive and
thank you so much,
and
buddy.
Get involved, man. I love it. I love you, man. This is fun.
Thank you. This was a lot of fun, man.
Good shit. Sure. So guys, couple things before we wrap. Man, where am I? There we go. There you have it. I will be sure to throw all of his links in the description so they're easy to access. Also in the bio. It's the end of the day. No, just kidding. It's in the morning. It's the start of the day. In the bio, you'll see links for a few other things besides Nick's stuff. One of them is the link to the Hammerhead Creations website. Hammerhead Creations is the parent company above this podcast, and Hammerhead provides affordable marketing solutions for small businesses. Some other links are for just some companies that I do some like brand affiliate stuff with. If they're really cool products, I don't ever like plug things that I don't use myself personally because that's not authentic. Like Frost Buddy, which is a cool like insulator for your beer, your seltzer, your energy drink, whatever. Nice. As well as Cowboy Revolution Apparel Company. They're a really cool kind of cowboy, but also owned by veterans kind of apparel brand. Very interesting. You very likely have seen them like advertised on Instagram or TikTok. They're like starting to blow up. So check them out on discounts for great products. Those links are in the description as well. Don't forget to share this with one person, at least one person. Send it to them. Hopefully the conversation that Nick and I had today will bring meaning and some inspiration and anything in between for somebody listening. So if you think somebody needs to hear it, send them the link to this episode. Remember to subscribe, rate, and review on the platforms that you consume: YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. And we will see you next time.
Oh, wait. Can I give one band a shout out?
Yeah, go.
I forgot about this. Trench Gun. They just went exclusive on StageDive.
Oh, yeah.
So they're fully independent, and they just took a big leap, and they're putting all their eggs in the StageDive basket. So please, everybody who does come to StageDive from this, go check out Trench Gun and get them a
Trench
payout.
Gun.
Go get them some money, man. Because
It's the first band I'm going to listen to.
They just went all in with it, and they're busting their ass, and they're a really good band. So go give them some love.
Hell yeah! Shouts to Trench Gun.
Trench Gun.
I almost said Trench Dive. Trench Gun. Stage Dive. Trench Gun on Stage Dive. Thank you guys. See you next time. Bye.